Hey guys, so today I'll be doing Khal Drogo's makeup. I'm using my boyfriend as a model. This makeup is quite basic. You probably already have everything you need, except for the rigid Collodion, which will be used to make the scar. You start off by concealing all the imperfections. He may be a barbarian, but he still has flawless skin. Now with a fluffy brush, you'll want to get a matte black eyeshadow and spread it all over the lid up into the eyebrows. Make sure to also fill in the eyebrows a little bit and get it really close to the lash line. Go under the eyes as well. Now with a flat brush, you'll want to fill in the eyebrows, not making it too obvious or else it'll look like a plucked and groomed eyebrow, and you don't want that. You just want to make it a little bit more pointy and arched, because he has that natural arch in his eyebrows that makes him look angry and intimidating all the time. Now for the eyebrow with a scar on it, you'll want to map out where the scar is going to be using your flat brush. Just fill in the eyebrow with the black around where the scar is going to be. Make sure to really get the eyeshadow in the inner corners of the eyes. Now I'm going to be using my Ben & I Special Effects Grease Paint palette. You just need a pinky red tone to do this. Get a really thin brush to draw out the scar, and always have your reference picture handy. That way you can see the exact shape and size of the scar. To give it some dimension, I'm going to be using a light concealer with a pink undertone to it, just to fill in the central part of the scar. Now, also for dimension, I'm going to be using a darker red, just to fill in the tips of the scar. Since I want the colors to be subtle, and this is grease paint, so there is a risk of it going all over the place, I'm just blotting out the excess. You can use a tissue, but I'm just using my fingers. Next step is filling in the waterline with a black pencil. You can also use a gel liner if you want. Now for contouring, you'll want a small fluffy brush so that you can be more precise with your strokes, and you'll need a dark brown eyeshadow with a gray undertone to it. If you use a bronzer or something that has an orange undertone to it, it can look fake. Contour the nose as well to make it appear thinner. You really want to define the cheekbones. He has amazing cheekbones. So just get right in under the cheekbone and blend down towards the beard. You can also do some contouring around the temples. Since my model has a gap in his mustache, I'm going to have to fill that in. I'm just using a flat brush and some matte black eyeshadow. I'm also drawing in the shape of the beard. You'll want to fill in the rest of the beard just as you would with eyebrows. To help it blend out and look more natural, I'm using the dark brown eyeshadow I used before for the contouring. This is totally optional, but I'm drawing in Jason Momoa's little beauty marks. I'm using a dark brown grease paint as opposed to using black, which would look kind of fake. Now to give a little bit of realism to the drawn-in bits of the beard and mustache, I'm going in with the same thin brush I used to make the scar, but with a black grease paint and just drawing in tiny little strands of hair. Now using black grease paint, I'm going in close to the lash line and just blending it out. You can also use a gel liner, but it would be harder to blend it out. Now for the fun part. You'll want to stretch out the skin where you're going to be applying the rigid collodion. Use little strokes to fill in exactly where you want it. Wait for it to dry between layers, and you can add lots of layers. The more layers, the more puckered the skin will be. Just be careful not to get it too close to the eye area. Also, I'm going to be using this over the eyebrows. This isn't really recommended because you probably will pull out some hairs when you try to remove it. So be careful. And I really recommend just shaving the eyebrow for this, but if you don't want to, then I guess it's fine to use the collodion over it. For ceremonial paint, I'd ideally use a colored mud for this. You can see it's a mud because of the crackled texture. Since I don't have mud, I'm going to be using blue acrylic paint mixed in with a black water-activated face paint. I'm using my fingers first just to map out the area, and then going in with a brush to perfect the lines. Alternate between layers of darker blue and lighter blue to give it dimension and an uneven effect. On the character, these markings go all the way to his back as well, but I decided just to do the front for this. We all know that Khal Drogo's main feature is his super defined chest, so we can help give that impression by doing a little contouring. Using the same eyeshadow you used to contour the face, you'll want to go between the chest, under, and where it meets the arms. If you decided to go for the rigid collodion over the eyebrow hairs, then use concealer to go over them to make it look as if there were no hairs there. The collodion can also make the colors that you put under it seem a bit darker, so you can go with concealer and tame them down a bit. Now, an essential step that is often overlooked is dirtying down your model. I cannot stress this enough how important this is for the final look. I'm using black and brown grease paint on a stippling sponge and applying to the areas where it would most likely be dirty. So around the temples, the neck, the shoulders, well, everywhere really, but really concentrate on these areas. Make sure to take the excess off on the back of your hand, or else you'll get this big splodge on your model, and you don't want that. Also, go into the areas where you contoured before. This will help with the contouring and make it look darker. Just make sure you don't get any on the cheekbones, or else it can cancel out the contouring you did. Don't be afraid to go over the blue lines. This will make it look grittier and dirtier. And And now you're done, depending on how dirty you want your Khal Drogo to look like. Just style the hair and that's it. See you next time!